Hello, Mr. Matt here again. We are going to be hopping into another kind of cool Tinkercad feature for you guys. And remember, at any time, go ahead and hit the pause button, hit the back button, and try to rewatch various sections if you're playing, if you're, going around and just trying different things. Feel free to do that. Today, we are not going to be doing smashing wasa. We are going to be doing the align tool. And we've talked about so many features: moving the screen, moving the objects around, changing the object's size and shape, using the cutting tool, using to cut and the hole through the hole tool, cutting holes and making cuts, tons of different options. And today we're going to be talking about how do we align objects quickly. Very often we want to take two shapes and we kind of want to stick them together efficiently, quickly. It could be really hard if we were just kind of like dragging two shapes into the screen. And I'm trying very carefully to move my shape all the way up next to this shape. And that can be challenging. It could be hard. It could be difficult to align things. And so the first thing I want to do today is just talk about like aligning these two shapes, which will go right into my challenge for this week for you guys, which is to design a house. And so what we're going to do today is we got a triangle roof line that kind of sits right there, and then we have this block, and I want to put this roof line right on top. And now I can carefully drag it here, and oh man, this is kind of tough. Did I get it right? Is it actually on there? It kind of looks like it, but I don't know. I don't know if this shape is actually on this face surface. Okay, and there's a number of ways we can do this. So the first way here is I can say, all right, I want to select the two parts, right? And let's actually move this away. So we want to just kind of show what we're going to end up doing here. We want to go ahead and select the shapes, and there's this really cool tool up here called Align. We can either click Align or we can click the L button, but let's just do the Align. And here we are, we're presented with a lot of dots. Look at all these black dots we got here. And now what we want to do is say, well, we want to align these two shapes together, right? And we want to try and pick, where do we going to put it? How is it going to look when we add those two shapes together? How are we going to actually stick them together? And can we do that easily? And so what we can do is we can start to select these dots, and these dots will tell us how it is aligning. You saw how those changed, and here we'll put these back. Move that thing back. So we'll go ahead and select that, and again we'll hit the Align tool. And so basically what this says is if I click this button, it's going to bring the square up so that the top of the square and the very apex of the triangle roof line shape there are going to be aligned together. And so let's go ahead and do that. Let's just see what it looks like. So I brought these two peaks to the same height. Okay, so now I can see when I move the screen around, I say, oh, okay, they're exactly in the same size. Now I'm still presented with more dots. Do I want to align this differently? Do I want to align them to the center so that the two now are right in the middle? Do I want to align it to the right? So it goes right to the edge here, to the right, to the left. Do I want to bring this shape to the left? Do I want to, you can see they're kind of off a little bit. I want to align them in the middle. So let's go ahead and put that there. So you can see how they just move the two objects. I'll go ahead and move those aside so we can see that a little bit better. If I push it to the middle, you're going to see both objects are going to meet in the middle. It's not just one object moving to the one side or one object moving to the other. You can see they meet each other in the middle. And when we do that, boom, we are now aligned on the middle of this object and the middle of this object in that slice are now aligned together. And you can see that we have them on the top and we have them on the bottom. Okay, and so I'm able to move the objects around based on where they are. Now we could use our slice feature. This is a cool way to say, okay, I want to take that slice out of that shape, or we can go ahead and align them maybe on the corner, down here if we want it to be on the bottom, want to be over onto the side, and up. And so this allows us to pick certain orientations for these objects based on the relative position of the two. Okay, now we're going to combine that with another feature called the Workplane tool. So let's go ahead and I'm going to select both objects. I'm going to hit the D key. I'm going to drop them to the surface. So that drops them right to this workplane, this blue workplane that we see on our screen. So I'll do that again. So they're up in the air, they're floating. I want to bring both of these objects straight to the ground. I'm going to select them both and I'm going to hit the D tool and that drops them for D. Okay. Now I want to go ahead, bring this guy up, and what I want is I want to put this shape right on the face of this box because I want to make a house, and that's what we'll do in the next video. But I want to just say, come up here, and we have this other thing called the Workplane tool, and we'll go ahead and I'll just click it, and then I come in here and I can choose which side of the box I want to change the workplane. So I can rotate around while it's still selected, and I know I want to do on the top because I just want to drop it right on the top. So I'll click that, and you're going to watch the blue workplane change. It's now orange, or kind of reddish yellowy type of. And what I've done here is I've changed the workplane to be now the orange one. Now the blue one's still there. You can kind of see it. It's still kind of hidden on the outside. But what we are now working from is this orange one. And this helps me for a number of reasons. Very often I want to get this object exactly on the surface of a certain type of shape. And I've done that now. And now I get to use that same D tool to drop this object straight to the workplane, which is exactly the top of this shape. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click it. I'm going to say D. It's going to drop it there. Now before it was dropping it to the blue workplane, but now because I've changed the workplane to be the surface of that block, I have now dropped it exactly to what that side is of that shape. So now let's go ahead and select the two. Let's go back to our Align tool. And now let's go ahead and align our shape to the middle of that block. We've done it exactly. You can put it on the top, you can put it on the bottom, but we're going to keep it here because I've dropped it to that surface, and all I wanted to do was align it to that corner of that object. And now this triangle roof line is exactly on the face of this red square. Okay, a red cube. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the Workplane tool and click anywhere off of the screen, and it goes away and we're back to where we were with our regular workplane. So let's do that again real quick. So I have a shape here. I've dropped it in. I've dropped it into my work area. I've kind of lifted it up, or I can have it down here on the ground. Doesn't really matter. Here, I'll put it right on the surface. D. All right. So I dropped it right there onto that workspace, and here I am. I'm going to go ahead and change the workplane to the surface here, so that the reference now is at the top of our cube. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select my little kind of, I'll just call it the roof line shape. And I want to put that on the bottom. I want to put it right on this workplane. Again, I'm going to hit D. Now, even though it's below the shape, it's going to bring it up to that side. So let's do that again. It wants to bring the bottom of our shape to meet the workplane, which is the reference on top of our cube. So we'll hit D, and it brings us right up on that surface. You can see how it is perfect. Now, what if it was up here? Same thing. It's going to bring it down to our Workplane tool. Okay, and now that we're sitting here, we can kind of drag it over. You can see the shadow projected down onto the original workplane. Always very helpful. So we're going to multi-select. I've selected both objects, both shapes, and again I'm going to come up here to the Align tool. And remember, you don't have to make the selection. You can just kind of hover. Very often I'm hovering, trying to figure out, man, which one do I need? Do I want to bring this shape to the left? Do I want to bring this block to the right? You can see here, this will bring the block to the right. This would bring the two together in the middle. and then this one would bring the top shape, the roofline shape, to the left. So I want to bring this roofline to the cube. So I'll go ahead and click this box. Boom. It just snaps to that location. All right. And now I am presented with a couple more that I can still do. Do I want to bring the block up to that shape? Do I want to bring the two together? Do I want to bring the roofline down? No, I don't. I want to make sure that these now are aligned. So again, I'm going to look at these blocks. And again, you're just going to hover over them and just pick the one you want. You say, okay, I want to bring the roofline to the red cube. So I'm going to choose the left one, not the middle one where they meet together. Or I move the cube to the roofline. I want to move the green roofline to the cube. I go ahead and do that, and you can see they are now perfectly mated. I made sure that the shape was exactly 20 by 20, which is exactly the shape of the cube, so that always helps. But yeah, we've gone ahead and we have mated those two shapes together. And again, if we want to take this orange work plane off, take it off, put it there. Now let's imagine if you wanted to add something else to this shape. Could be anything. Let's go ahead and bring out this half cylinder. Let's go ahead and use our rotation tool. We'll rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. Let's make sure that let's see how our shape is shaped. Okay, it's 20 by 20. Great. And now I want to slap this to the outside edge of this kind of cube. So again, let's go ahead and take our work plane. And instead of putting it on the top like we did before, I want to put it on the side of this cube. And very often when we're designing things, we're trying to slap different designs or different shapes onto certain surfaces. And this is how we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now you see the work plane is now that side. You see the old blue one is still highlighted, but our working plane, which is the orange one. And again, I'm going to take this, I'm going to hit D. And what that's going to do, just like it did before, it drops it down. But because our work plane is now vertical, it's going to drop it to the left here on the perspective that we're seeing here. So I'm going to hit the D key again. And as you can see how it dropped it right to the edge of that work plane. And now because I've dropped it to the work plane, I'm going to be very careful. I only want to select the red and the half cylinder. So I just do that. I've selected both of those objects. Come up here to the Align tool. And I start choosing how do I want to align that. Now here's where the problem was. You see how I moved my cube, and now my top roof line is off. So that was the wrong one to choose. And again, we just hit undo, select the two again. Let's hit the Align tool. And remember, we want to kind of hover and say, okay, well, what's the right choice here? Oh, I want to choose the right. So I'm going to drag the half cylinder over without moving the bottom cube. And then I'm going to choose the top right so that the cube moves up. The half cylinder moves up and doesn't move my cube, which would then affect how my roof line is placed. All right? So let's do that one more time. Let's imagine our cylinder's over here. Okay, we can even drag it off of the surface. So again, it's floating. I'm going to hit the D key. There it goes. Okay, cool. I'm going to multi-select the half cylinder with the cube. I'm not going to select the roof line because that would be selected as well, because I really just want this to snap to this guy. So there we go. Let's go ahead and align those. Let's see, where do we want to go? Okay, that would bring that guy there. That would bring him over here. Good. He got pulled over. And now where do I want him to end up? I want him to end up down there. So remember, I was just hovering over the blocks. I get the preview and say, yep, that's the one I want. And I go ahead and hit OK. I can click anywhere on the outside. It takes the Align tool off. And then we finish properly by changing our reference by going up here to the Workplane tool and selecting the original Workplane. And it's all done. And now I've gone ahead and I have, I don't know, a house with a greenhouse on the outside of it. And so there we are. We've learned two really cool tools. We've learned the Workplane tool, which allows us to snap shapes to certain surfaces. And we have learned the Align tool, which allows us to take two solid shapes and pick an alignment so that we can get something that works really nicely with what our design is going to need.